Okay, so it's been 30 minutes and I just took the cake out of the freezer so it's nice and firm. The next coating of frosting will stick really good. So I'm basically going to put it on the same exact way and use my scraper and also my flat spatula to smooth. You're just going to take it, turn, and smooth, and get it even. Start putting it on the sides. And remember, you're going to scrape a lot off as you're smoothing, so it may look like a lot at first, but you're actually going to scrape a lot of this off as you're smoothing. But you want to get good coverage at first, and then go in with your tools to smooth. Now, I do try to use gloves when I'm frosting. I try to be as sanitary as possible, or as I need to be, when you're cooking and baking. Just want to spread it on. I do find doing round cakes are much easier to spread the icing and get it even. I've only done a few sheet cakes and I have found them to be a little bit harder, especially around the corners, because you want those corners to be nice and sharp and smooth. So those have been a little more difficult, require a lot more time as I am frosting those. So, but I don't do very many of them. Okay, so I realized I thought I was recording and I was not, and I've been talking for like 2 minutes. But you just want to take your bench scraper or your little putty knife, putty scraper, and go against the cake using light pressure and smoothing, because you want to make sure you get a nice even coat all the way around. You don't want one side to be thicker than the other. And you just want to play around with your consistency of your frostings. Sometimes they can be a little too thin. They can be a little too thick. If they're too thick or too thin, that's when you'll run into issues and find it really hard to spread. If it's too thick, you may have to add a little more butter to it, or add maybe a splash of heavy whipping cream or milk, whatever it requires you to add to the frosting as you're making it, whatever recipe you're using. Usually I just will add a little bit of like heavy cream, just literally a splash, and mix it in with the blender, and it thins it out so it's easier to spread. And any naked parts of the cake that you see, just go in and add more frosting and smooth it out. And a lot of times if my frosting is too thin, I'll go back in and add about 4 ounces of cold cream cheese instead of the room temperature cream cheese, which will cause it to stay too thin. So that coldness helps kind of thicken it up. So you just want to do this, take your time, smooth and scrape, kind of look at it, make sure it's as smooth as possible. You can always go back in with your offset spatula and just lightly smooth the top and turn your Lazy Susan. It will come back out on the corners. I don't know if you can see, but that's fine. Just smooth and scrape. Smooth it out and scrape. These do take a lot of patience, but thank God I have enough to get through them. And as you're smoothing, you want to make sure that you're not seeing any of the cake in between. The only time you want to see the cake layers is if you're doing the naked cake, which I like to do those as well. Those are good, especially if you don't like to frost or you feel like you're not totally 100% on frosting real smooth. Then you do the same steps that I did to frosting, but you're going to scrape most of it off until you start to see the cake layers in between. So I basically got the cake nice and smooth. You will see some of the strokes, but that's totally fine. I'm still working on mine, still getting better each time. But after you do that, what you want to do is place the cake back in the freezer for about 5 to 10 minutes, especially if you're going to do a drip or use any type of chocolate or any of the melting chocolates for like a drip or whatever. If you put it on a warm cake or a cake that's more room temperature, or I should say the icing is more room temperature, the chocolate will just run straight down your cake and down the sides, and it won't be pretty. So the cake must be extremely cold, or the icing must be cold at least. So that's why you have to sit it back in the refrigerator for at least 5-10 minutes, or the freezer, to make sure the frosting is cold, so that when you do your drip around the cake, it will come down, but it'll stop. It's like the cold mixing with the hot makes it not hot. I should say your drip should be just warm or room temperature, but the cake being cold is what stops it from running all the way down to the bottom and creating a mess. Don't ask me how I know. So while the cake is in the refrigerator, what I actually did was, while it was in the freezer the first time, I actually took some little sugar roses or icing roses. These I purchased from Walmart because I have not mastered the skill of making flowers yet. So I do buy the flowers pre-made, and I will do a lot, either hand painting or I will use spray paint. It's the edible food spray paint. This is what I like to use. It's by Wilton. It's the Color Mist. They have it in several different colors. These roses come in a pack. Got these from Walmart. They're also by Wilton. And what I did was, with a few of them, I took the gold spray paint. Hopefully you can see that. And I just lightly misted them so you can see the red coming through. I didn't want them totally gold. But I did 8 of these, and I sprinkled them with a little bit of sugar, crystallized sugar, just to give it a little sparkle. And the rest of them I am leaving the red color. I also have these chocolate caramel balls. I like them because they have the gold leafing all the way around them, since the cake is going to be the red and gold. I thought these were nice, so I try to buy different things that I could use to decorate, different colors, and, just to give it a little pizzazz. And also, when I spray paint anything, after I do that, I do place it either in the freezer or in the refrigerator to help it set really nicely, so that when you're touching it, it's not coming off, and the spray paint has really set in.